In this tutorial, we are diving deep into Docker volumes, a powerful feature that lets you persist data across container restart. Whether you are building a database, a web server, or a development environment, or simply dev environment, understanding volume is essential. We will see total 5 different use cases for the volumes. So let's get started and break it down. Alright, so first thing first, what is volume? So in Docker, a volume is a storage location outside the container's writable layer. Here, what containers writable layer we are coming on that. In simple terms, storage is a location outside the container. Okay, let me change the directory. And in this, so for example, if I create one directory over here, let's say volume 1. So this folder here. So this folder is a location which is outside the Docker environment itself. And but here the thing is, this folder is outside the Docker environment. So it means this is managed by us. Okay, it is not managed by the Docker. We are coming on that, what kind of volumes are managed by the Docker, what kind of volumes are managed by us, or the location which are outside of the container or Docker environment. So that we will see everything. So storage is a location for any location, okay, which could be either is on local system or it could be any remote location. So one location where you store the data, that is a volume. Very simple. So now we understand that the concept of volume. Now let's understand how we use the volumes in Docker. So for that, very simple command, docker volume dash dash help. This is your very good friend to know what you could do with this command. So for example, in this docker volume command, so here these are its uses, how you could use it. So docker volume, these are the commands you could use, and commands are listed over here. So if you want to create a volume, you could run docker volume create, docker inspect, docker ls, docker prune. So for example, let me type it over here, docker volume ls, or let's say create. So in this, I could say volume 1 is created, but when I list it, so this volume and this volume both are different. How? Because this volume is managed by the Docker itself. So here we have one command, it says docker inspect. If I run docker volume inspect, and the volume name is volume 1. So here we could see the volume mount. Okay, this is the location where the volume has been created and which is managed by the Docker. So for if I want to see what's inside this, let me clear the screen first. Now I say like this ls-lrt, and you may see it says permission denied because you put the password, and you could see over here these are on by the root. Of course, this user has a admin right, but using the sudo. So now you could see this volume has been created over here, right, which is also one of the directory, and we will see how we can access it, how we can write the content, and so on and so forth. But in case if I have to like do volume 1, which is over here, and if I do like this, so you could see here, right, this is the owner and this is the group of this. So it is owned by this user, and in this case it is owned by the root. Okay, so that's a different, and which is inside the Docker environment itself. So this one is managed by the Docker, this one of course it does not have control over here. Okay, so this is the way by which you can see the volume. Okay, and if I go again something like this help, so we have inspect, we have seen create, we have seen prune, that we will do at the end, and rm if we want to remove any of the Docker volume. So in my case, docker volume, this is the way to use the volume command, right, docker volume, and I want to remove the docker volume 1. I have removed it, and now if I run this command docker volume ls, so this volume no longer available, and if I see here I have a directory volume 1, and we know to remove this one, rm -rf, and I could say volume 1, and it's gone, right, it is no more over here. These are the ways to use docker volume. Always remember, it's very simple, don't think it's very hard. Follow along whatever I'm doing it over here. At the end you will have very good command, very good understanding of the Docker volume. Let's see now how we use actually the volume itself. All right, so let's run one command, docker run Give name, okay, Postgres 1, and here I need to provide an environment Postgres underscore password, and password is password, and I want to use image Postgres. Okay, let's run it over here. Docker run. Okay, this is the name of the container. Let me execute it. So I do not have this image available on my local system, so now it is pulling, and after that container will be up and running. All right, so let me switch to another terminal. Okay, and here the screen, docker ps. So if you see, pg1 is there, and the command we executed, which is this one, docker run. Okay, and the name of the container, and post only we provide one environment variable, password, and the name of the image. We already learned how we can see the volumes. Before that, I would like to mention one thing over here. If you are new to the Docker, you want to learn the concept about the Docker, please check the description of this video. You will find our Docker tutorials where we explain each and everything, all the basic fundamentals, how you can create a Docker file, and so on and so forth. Okay, in very great details. So let's come back over here, run the command docker volume ls. You could see we got one volume here. Let me zoom it a little bit more so that makes sense more. So in this case, I have already copied this, clear the screen, and we know to see where it has mount, docker volume inspect, then the name of this one. Okay, so if I hit enter, I will find this. So instead of that, now onwards, what I'm gonna do, I will use the command like this, grab -i, and this one, mount point. Let's go ahead and see. This is short and sweet. Wait, clear the screen. Here we go. So now we have this location where we can find this volume. Let me do sudo ls-lrt, and I need to copy this path, paste it over here, and here we go. Right, so we have a lot of information, right, which are just created. So instead of that, let me change this. You could simply see like this. So all this Postgres related information or related directory, everything is created over here. Right? So now let's check one thing over here. What happened when I stop it? So in case to stop it, I have to press Ctrl C. Now container has gone. It is no more. Let me clear the screen. Docker ps. Okay, so container has stopped. Let's do like this. So here is pg1. If you see this container, this is pg1. So what I'm going to do, let me remove it. Docker rm. Okay, pg1 container has removed. Let's go back to the another screen. Let me make a full screen of it. And now again I run command docker volume ls. The volume is still there, and if I run the same command, I can find all the contents over here. So here the concept is not done. Let me do one more thing, and if I come over here, zoom it, and if I run next image docker run name nginx1 and nginx. All right, let's run it. So this is the way we can run the nginx container. And if I come back over here, let me zoom it, clear it, docker ps. Now let's see docker volume ls. So this time what happened, when I created the container, at that time this volume was created automatically, but when I run this nginx container, then there is no volume created. So let me close it and come back over here. We have deleted all the containers. So let me show you first command of the Postgres. This is the command I use to run Postgres container, right? And this was the command I used to run Nginx. So I did not define anywhere any volume, but still in background volume was created. And who created that volume? Docker for the process. But why it didn't for the Nginx? To understand this, let's switch back over here. I'm at hub.docker.com. Here I searched Postgres Docker image, right? And here let's go for the latest. So if you click on any of them, it will lead you to it's a Dockerfile location. Okay, let's make it a little bit zoom and go all the way down here, somewhere here. Yeah, line number 187, right here. So here what happened? They define one thing, volume, varly Postgres data. Okay, but in case if I go back over here and if I type nginx and click on this, let's go with the latest, right? Because we use that one. If I click and let me zoom it a little. If we see this Docker image, okay, so we are at the end of this Docker file. There is no volume. If I control F volume, okay, so there is nothing over here. But if I go and type over here volume, so I found one here. So this is a directive or instruction which is written in Docker file where we define what volume our Docker should create when container will run. Okay, so because of this instruction which is mentioned in this, so when I run the Docker run command, so that's why Docker created a volume. And if we see over here, so there was no volume at all, right? Volume instruction, I would say we didn't find any. So there is no volume instruction is mentioned in this Docker file, right? That's why Docker did not create any volume. Okay, so that's a difference. But here the question is how we define, or in which case do we define. So for example, let me go back over here and okay, let's continue with this one. So if you see over here this example, okay, here it says docker run name some nginx, and here it says -v. It's a way to define a volume. We are coming on that shortly, but I want to tell you the behind the scene what happened. Okay, in order to create a volume we could use -v, and it is like this. All right, so let me do one thing. Let me copy this one, this is, and I use my same command over here, docker run nginx1 and -v, and let's say ng1 volume. Okay, and colon I have to define a mount path. So here what I have done, let me explain you. This is the name, okay, and here what we mount. Okay, so we wanted to put all the contents of this directory in this one. All right, let's execute this one, and here we go. Nginx1 is already exit. So docker rm and ng1, let's remove this, let's clear the screen and run it again, and now it's up. And this time if we execute this command, so you could see ng1 dash volume has created. And if I want to inspect, so docker volume inspect, so let's do it. Here we go. So this is the location, right, where we'll find all the data. Sudo ls-lrt, and if you see index.html is over here, right? And if I go back over here, so user share and html, that's the location. Okay, so all the data of this directory we have put it over here. Okay, so this is how you use docker volume. Okay, so regardless whether it is defined in your docker file or not, but you need to know what you want to store. So in case of nginx, you could use, it is really strictly not necessary to define volume and give the path, but you would like to store the configuration of let's say nginx at some location, because you have because containers are ephemeral, they restart or they died or spin up new one. So in that case, you don't want to lose the data. So these are the two different Docker files. These are already put in resource section of this. If you want to inspect more, go ahead and do that. Now the point is, what when you want to use volume itself in your Docker file. So we will also see that. But first, let's see different option or different methods to use the Docker volume. So first we'll see anonymous or random volume. We already saw this when we spin up the container, right? For the Postgres, like this Docker volume ls, it was created. So it's the same. So let me remove it first, Docker volume rm, and I have to provide the name of the volume. It's removed. Docker. Same thing. I'm sorry about that. Docker volume rm and one volume, but it says it is in use. Volume is in use, and which is used by this container. So I let me remove the Docker, remove this one, and then I will remove the volume. And if I run again, Docker volume ls, so I do not have any of the volume. So let's first see how we can use random volume. So for example, if in your Docker file, right, let's say you are a developer or you are DevOps, and you want when user use that Docker image or runs, if container is deleted, then data would be lost. You don't want that. So in that case, you define the volume in your Docker file, and that is good practice. So as it has also it's a disadvantage and advantage as well. So we'll come on that later, but let's first see how we use this. For this, I'm going to use this Docker file, okay, and volume.sh. It's one of the shell script. Let me first show you. Here we go. So it's simply writing data to this location. Then it echoes to statement hello from volume sh bash script, and it is overwriting at this place, right? And data returned to this one, and it will also show. Okay, so in this actually this message will be print on the screen. This one is also on the screen. This is the Linux concept we are redirecting it to in this. So we learn this in Linux 7 of our certified DevOps engineer training program. I will put that as well in the description. So this is what simple shell script does. And then we have Docker file itself. I'm using Ubuntu image, and this is the work directory, and here I have defined a volume. Okay, and after that I will add a script in this at this location and make it executable, and then I will execute it using this one. So that's all everything is already we learned before. If you want to learn, there's a link in the resource section of the description. Go ahead and do that if you want to, but this is the Docker file. But here one thing I would like to mention, so we have used the instruction volume, right, and this one is the location. All right, so let's quit and build our first Docker image out of it. So Docker build, then we have to provide tag, and I would like to say dsoc3 volume 1, or let's say volume 1, and I give a context because my Docker file is over here and it has started building. All right, so image is created, Docker images, and what is the name of the image? This is the name of the image, and here we go, 11 seconds ago, right? Very simple, nothing special over here. Let me clear the screen, come back over here, and we already saw we do not have anything in volume. So now I will run a container using this Docker image. So for that, let me make a zoom of it first. So Docker run, okay, dash it, and the image. So we got the message on the screen, okay, and writing data to dsoc3 data over here, data written to the volume test, volume underscore test or text file, check the container or volume. So in this case, we cannot check into the container because our container get exited. 22 seconds ago. That's what we discussed already why this happened. Okay, so quick explanation. We just wanted this container to execute this script and exit. Now if I come on this screen and if I run this command docker volume ls, so now I got a volume, right, which does not have any name in it and which is random. So it has random name. Okay, and if we want to see, so simple, what's the location? Docker volume inspect, and then I would like to grab, not grab p, grab I, and then oh point. My bad. Let me clear the screen first. Okay, we clear, then volume, then I missed the name of the volume. So this is what happened. Let's come on that what happened. So this is the location, right? Inside this, let's see what do we have. Sudo ls -lrt, and inside that we have this file, and we would like to read this file. Sudo, and we know we have this one. This is the file, and we have to provide the path. It's over here. Let's put it, and here we go. Hello from volume.sh bash script. So which the simple text we already put in our here, right? Less volume.sh. So this is the text, right? This one, hello from volume.sh. So which we already got over here. Now let's do one thing. So I go over here and zoom off it, and let me remove the container, and have removed it. Container has gone, but if we see the volume ls, but our volume is still there. So that's the thing. So for example, in your Docker file, let's say you have developed an application and you have put, you define a volume like this. Okay, you have defined a volume in your Docker file, and you decided to put all the data, all the necessary configuration which requires for the initial configuration. Let's say your application requires a user registration very first time, right? Everything will be over here, and user accidentally missed or not aware about the volume at all. I'm considering this scenario, and then user later realize after all the configuration, so by which you could prevent accidentally lost the data. For example, I forgot this thing. So what I could do, I could simply use this volume name. So how I can use, so I can run again. It's my run, and in order to use this, okay, so very first thing I can use using -v, and I could say volume 11. Sorry, not this one. We want to use this volume, right? And here to give a path. So for that, when we did inspect this one, or instead of doing this thing, let me do one thing over here. So let's hold it and again go back to our Docker file. So dsoc3, okay, and data is the path which is mentioned over here. So you can simply come over here, or as a user, or user can know, because when you provide, you also provide, like Nginx provided the way how we can use the path. So similarly, -v this way. Okay, so first in this way we have to define the volume. Okay, and after that, this is the location we want to mount over here, right? This time let me execute it again. So the script has executed. Okay, and in our script, okay, we use this thing, and that's why every time when you run, this will append in this file. Okay, so let's come back over here and again do the cat. See, what happened? Docker volume Alice. Okay, so it's my bad. I put a different volume which was not there. Let's do one thing. Let me remove all of these things. First, I have to remove the Docker volume RAM, and which was I copied this one, right? What I forgot, I just forgot to put 4. And you see whatever string we have provided over here, and I know to throw us this one, so I copy this one. All right, so let's Docker ps dash a. All good. Okay, so let me again clear the screen. Docker volume ls. Still we did not remove not Docker volume rm, and I want to remove this. Now it's clear. We have this volume. Okay, and what I want to do now, yeah, here, if I come like this, let me, okay, so simple. We have to put only one rest all string is 4, right? Okay, so we have removed that one, but anyways, so let's use it again. All right, and here we go. If we get no such file or directory at the moment, so because it is a different volume, it's that one we have deleted. Come on. All right, so this is the content which we have. So what we are doing, we are using the same volume which was created, and we are mounting it again. Let's run it, and now it does the same thing. And of course we won't get, because the container which will be exited, because it has done its job over here, right? And if we come back over here, and if I run it again, so another statement is over here. But if you see what just happened, I missed something over here. So 4 was there, so I missed that. Initially I missed to delete this, right? So, and this is just happened. So it is really normal, right? You cannot always remember this much big string, and it is also hard. I'm not saying impossible, but it is hard to manage, right? So instead of that, if we have something where we could give a name, to a meaningful name to this volume, right? So that would be our next volume one. Okay, so this is what we have seen, or we have learned. This is random or anonymous volume. Okay, so we will be using the same Docker file, same Docker image. We will come on that later. More things are there. Okay, so let me first remove this container. Remove it. Okay, so we do not have any more container except this one. And here Docker clear the screen first, and this as well. Volume, okay, and Docker volume rm, and let's remove this. All right, clear the screen. No more volumes. Delete everything. Okay, so let's zoom it over here. So next we will see the named volume. So we already saw, right, Docker volume dash dash help, right? This is the command, and here we have option create, which initially we discussed about it. So how can I create a volume? Docker volume and create, and let's say volume dash one, and we are done, right? And okay, so volume has created. Let's run a container, right? We will be using the same Docker image, dsoc3, this one, Docker images, dsoc3 dash volume. Okay, so we use this image again in order to create. or use this volume. All right, Docker run, let's say give it a name. Okay, volume container 1, and then I'll come over here, copy this guy, volume 1, hit over here, home screen of it, paste it over here, and now I have to provide path, right? So path is simple, right? tsoc3 and data. So here this volume, right? And we forgot one thing over here, dash v. So dash v is simple, or I would say very handy or simple use to create, okay, volume. In this case, okay, this would be, so we already created that. Let me do one thing. Docker volume, right? Because this one we already saw, right? So I have removed this one, and we do not have any volume anymore, right? So let's go back over here, zoom it, and here this first one. Okay, so we are seeing how we can use the named volume. So named volume, it simply means we are providing a name to it. Okay, so a Docker managed volume, but this is a Docker managed because it will be created by the Docker automatically. Okay, and this one is the path, right, inside the container where the volume is mounted. So this volume will be mounted over here, or I would say the content of this location will be stored over here. So however is convenient to you to remember, this is the way, right? So Docker run, name vc1 dash v, volume this one, and hit enter. All right, so this is done, right? And now go over here and run Docker volume ls. So we see this is created and this is managed by the Docker itself, right? And we know if we access its a container, not access it's a content, right? So very simple command, zoom it, Docker, or let's do one thing, do it over here. Okay, Docker inspect, sorry, not inspect, I'm very much used to this Docker volume. Okay, inspect and all dash one, and see, this one is very simple, right? It's a path is like this and name is like this. So this time what I can do, when I, of course, like the screen and show you something more. So Docker ps, right, dash a. So this, of course, this is exited, but what this time what I could do, I can give it a different name. Okay, and here if you, what's the fill, this, let's copy this, sudo cat, and inside this we have a file, right? What's the name of the file? Dot, right, dash. Okay, so we have only one content, right? So this time what I'm gonna do, I will give it name, different name. Here the name is, so this time I'm gonna give a different name, and the name is vc2. Okay, and we know it, we executed exited, it's done. But this time if I get it out again, so you could see I have the same, I mean the volume is the same volume, but I have used in different containers. Okay, let me make a zoom out of it. So this one is volume container 1, volume container 2. So this is how you can share the volumes among the containers as well. Okay, so this is one of the way to use the name volume. Let me clear the screen, come back over here and clear this screen as well. So this is the one of the way by which you can use the name volume. Okay, but there is a one more way. Okay, so whatever what we have saw, it's named like this, volume. Second way we are gonna see, it's a bind. Okay, bind mount. Bind mount, what it means, like initially I said, okay, there are two ways you can define volume to a container. Okay, so in this, so this means if you want to take a control of the volume or volume location or storage location, then you could use the bind mount. Okay, this, so first one is the named volume, right? So way is the same, dash v, but this is different. Okay, and which is recommended for production workload. Okay, and how we can use it, so let's go ahead and see that. So in the in same case, so we already have this volume, right? Yes, so we are going to use the same volume, right? So first I would like to show you the named concept, because we are seeing this one named volume. So first way we saw using dash v. Okay, and this one is we will see with the bind one. Okay, how you can use the bind volume. So this still will be managed by the Docker, because we are using named volume, but it's a different way of mounting. So how we could mount it, so we use the same previous command which we use, right? So just remember, no container name conflict. So Docker run, not run, and name is vc3. Let's say like this. And last time we used the dash v. This time we will use different. You need to use mount before we use dash v. Okay, so dash v is very handy, but for production workload, this is recommended way. So mount source, and source is our this one, volume 1, which is right over here. Let me copy it and come back over here, zoom out it. So this is now, this is the source what you want to, right, mount. So source is volume 1, and after that you have to put comma. I know you, it feels intimidating, but it is really not. Okay, and after that you have to put target. And what is the target? Same, list of free data. And after that we have to provide a name of the Docker image which we want to use. If we see over here, and if I run get, sorry, come on. So next time we will be seeing, yes, you're right, 3 statement hello from this one. Now let's run a container, and here we go. And if I come back on this screen, if I run again, so here is the, we didn't do anything. Okay, here what I wanted to show you, this is another way by which you can mount. Okay, there are more options as well, but we are learning the methods. Okay, so first method using dash v, another method using bind mount, but these two both ways can be used for the named volume. So we will be seeing more in named volume. So this is what we saw so far. It is managed by the Docker, right? Because volume is inside the Docker environment. But what in case if you want to mount your own local system directory, mkdir, let's say volume 2 dir. This time we want to mount this local directory to the container itself. So we could say from host OS to container. So how we can do it? So for that we have option. So first we will see dash v option. So we have seen this one. We have seen this one. And let's clear the screen. Okay, so let me put this first. This one we saw, and this one we saw. This time, right, we want to use this location, okay, which is in this directory inside the container. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So what I'm gonna use this one. Okay, we copy and paste, and instead of this I'm going to use this one. Source is like this. Okay, and let's give it a name 4. And now you could see in the this has executed. Okay, and now let's see the content over here. Volume dash 2 dash dir, and we didn't get any. What's wrong over here? Docker logs and logs of EC4. Yeah. So this happened, okay, but it is not able to write anything over here. So what we could do in this case, so whenever, remember, when you are using bind mount, okay, for host path into this one, then what you need to do, you need to provide absolute path. Okay, so let me do one thing, this pwd. Okay, and let me copy this. I need to copy it again. Always you can do that. And here we go. Let me clear the screen now. And this time, if you see, it says, okay, sorry about this. So, okay, which is name is in used. That's why I don't like to give a name while testing or showing. What was the 4, 5? Okay. Now, if you see Docker error response from daemon, create this directory. Okay, and this one includes invalid character for a local volume name. These are allowed. Okay, if you intended to pass home host directory, use absolute path. So if you see over here, I have given an absolute path, right? Home, the soft3 Docker volumes, and inside that I have a vol2 dir. But let's first confirm. So that's correct. We have given an absolute path. So absolute path, it means since beginning up to over here. So there is no typo or anything. That's why we copy paste. But what's the deal over here? So there are different ways, right, to resolve this. Okay, so let's fix this. Let me clear the screen. And if I come over here, okay, so again it will throw us the error 5. So let's give the name 6. No worries. But here, one thing what you need to do when you are mounting. Okay, so as I said, there are multiple ways. Like if you are using -v flag, okay, then you could provide let's say permission to this directory, and then it could create the files over here, right? Because a script which is getting executed inside the container has a different right than this location. So instead of going into and managing permission and all this, it's a simple thing. You have to type this thing, mount type equals to bind, simple, nothing else. Whenever you are using this host location and to the mapping with the inside the container, right, always use type bind, simple. Let's do it. And this time, let me see what's the name. Here we go, volume2 dir. And this time you could see the file gets created. Let's check its okay, so which is created by root. So let's see if we can access this volume2 dir. Oh, right, though it was created, but still it is in this directory, and that's why we are able to. We really don't need to use cat. Yes, volume can be mounted as a read only. Sometimes you really don't want somebody come in the container and change the files, right? So for that, it's a different story. But here I wanted to show you how you could use this one, and maybe I can I can mount this directory right, somewhere on my maybe storage server or backup server or somewhere, so I still have a data in place, right? So here I have explained you, right? I have shown you how you can use two different options, right? So named and anonymous or random, right? Or this is the host OS to container. So these are the three ways. There are more ways as well. Okay, so let me summarize this once again. First, all right. So all these three methods we saw, right? Even for the named one. So this is the flag dash v flag, which is very handy, but that's good for the testing purpose. But if you have production workload, go for this one. Okay, and if you have a use case where you want to mount your host or operating system location into this, so use this option. Okay, so these are the three options. With that summary, let's wrap up the session. And I hope the journey wasn't too painful and that you found this session helpful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If not, would love to hear how we can make it better. Catch you in the next one. Until then, bye bye.